Hello and welcome back to the Madden 20 wish list. Today's episode is going to be about in-game presentation and the stuff I would like to see added. Now, before I get into this, I have to disclaim this is not stuff I expect to be in Madden 21 or really want to be in Madden 21. This is stuff that should be pushed into the future because there are much more pressing needs for Madden franchise mode. Now, that being said, the in-game presentation is very bland and boring in this game. It does not give you the good feeling of turning on the TV on a Sunday afternoon to watch your favorite team, or if they're good, a Thursday night or a Monday night or Sunday night. This episode is just going to be about giving this a Sunday afternoon vibe. Now, we're going to start before the game even begins. One thing that would be nice, now, if you've watched my Bengals franchise, which you should watch because I think it's a really good series, we're at the time 5-0 of recording this, and we're hot going to Philadelphia Friday. Well, it'll be last Friday when you're watching this. But something nice that I've done in every episode is show the all-time record between the two teams. Now, the example I've shown in the art here is Jacksonville and Bengals. Jacksonville leads the series 13-9. And you can see also with the leading the series, the results of the last time these two teams met. So, Jacksonville leads series 13-9. Jacksonville beats Cincinnati 27-17 Week 7, 2017. Now this would change because obviously in our Bengals franchise, which is this based off, we beat them. So Jacksonville will only lead the series 13-10. Now, of course, also, if this is franchise mode, now if this is play now, don't add this. But in franchise mode, we should see what happened last week for each team. So as you can see, our Bengals franchise, last week we won versus Washington 40-25, and then Jacksonville, I believe, lost versus Houston on Monday Night Football in this series. But it's something that's nice, get like idea of where the team is coming from, and like it's important to know what context you're getting the team in. Now by that I mean, should I be expecting a team coming up a big win that has a good amount of momentum, or am I facing a team that just had a tough loss and maybe feeling cold after just suffering offensively or defensively? It's easy to check this stuff before starting the game, but again, this is about having the broadcast experience, not a franchise like checking everything beforehand like I have to do in this series. Now moving on to the actual game, one of the new features they added recently is a new screen for showing their stats in the season. Now, I think it's good. I love it, showing stats like this. One thing they should add, quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, mobile quarterbacks that have a lot of rushing yards, show rushing yards as well. Like, show me Lamar Jackson's passing stats aren't that impressive until you add the 1,206 rushing yards. Now, moving on, next up, they show you lineups usually. Sometimes, for whatever reason, they don't show you the lineups, but we're going to be fine with that. One thing I would like to add with the lineups is their offensive rankings. You only get to know who the starters are, and that's it. You do not get to know how good are they offensive. How many points per game do they score? Like for the Niners, in the Super Bowl example, they are the second-ranked offense with a 13th ranked passing attack and second-ranked rushing attack. Now, this is important because now I know a quick in-game scouting report. They like to run the football. They don't like to pass as much. Of course, this goes both ways with the defensive stats and rankings. It's just quality of life stuff that I think should be added. Now, in longer drives as well, if you've ever watched a broadcast, they show you how the current drive is going along. You'll see the amount of rushes, the amount of passes, the amount of yards, and the time has come off the clock. Now, since making this mock-up, I have seen it a couple times, but I think it should be a lot more often, especially when you get into the red zone. It's when this graphic should really come up. Now, moving on with these rankings, when you get in the red zone, usually you'd like to know how the teams do in the red zone. You can see in the Super Bowl example, while the Niners had the second most red zone trips in the NFL, they only score a TD 21st in the league, which is huge for me. Now I know okay, we can hold them to 3. It's just a quality of life thing. Now, another thing that was added, I don't remember when, but is really something I like, is scoring summary. It's simple. It gives you an idea of what the drive was. It gives you plays, yards, and time. The one thing I would like to add is just who scored the touchdown. You can see in this example here, it's Blake Bell, 1 yard receiving touchdown. The game doesn't do that. It shows you basically how the quarterback did that drive, which I think, well, quarterbacks do get a lot of credit for stuff. Don't You don't really need to care about that. I want to know who actually scored it. Now, moving on to the game, another thing, the ticker at the bottom, it's cool. You get score alerts for your division rivals and sometimes upsets, but I'd like to know who scored what. Now, if you watched, again, the Bengals franchise, against the Jaguars, I started adding that, where you can see how teams do, and in this graphic here, you'll see Philadelphia just scored a touchdown with Deshaun Jackson with 1:48 to go in the fourth. It's really nice to know how games are turning out. It's just a quality of life thing, good for franchise, especially if you have those Week 17 tiebreakers. Moving on to halftime, only thing, halftime's fine. Add highlights. I don't want to hear the BS that the developers normally give. It's an NFL 2K5. If a game from 2004 can do it, you can do it in 2020. Who cares? Just add highlights. I don't care if it's just divisional opponents. Like I do in the Bengals franchise, I just show the divisional opponents. I only show Browns, Ravens, and Steelers. That's good enough. That's the games I really care about. Not, I don't need the random stuff. Just show me the stuff, highlights, though. Why not show it? It's important, especially since simulated stats aren't that realistic. Now, moving on after halftime, usually you'll see after a few drives, it's not necessarily after halftime, but usually a few drives in, you'll see a graphic showing their first three possessions. As you see in this Bengals example with Andy Dalton here, our first three possessions, we had a long field goal drive, a punt, and a quick interception. Of course, this could be added at any point, but it's just another quality of life thing. It just shows how the opponent moved the ball. I know sometimes you should remember, but again, we're making a broadcast experience. Not every viewer pays attention. Now, nearing the end of the game, usually you'll see standings, updated standings of how each game went, and then upcoming opponents. Starting with standings, you'll see in this graphic, as Jacksonville's kneeling the ball out in this example here, the Bengals have received their first loss, and you'll see the rest of the teams as they stacked up. Their games won't be counted, because usually you don't assume games are over until they're over, so you would know for the Ravens, Browns, or Steelers, even though the Browns are playing and the Ravens are playing tonight, you wouldn't know. Of course, moving on to the upcoming opponents, you'll see our opponents. We have the Giants, Eagles, and Ravens, and you'll see the Jaguars' opponents. It's just another thing that happens in a broadcast that is important to know. One other thing is just the emotion in the game. You don't feel it. You don't feel excited to be a part of a close win. Every ending from 49-0 to 23-21 gets the same reaction from the losing coach. He just throws down his play call sheets. We just storms off in an angry mood, and we just see some usually poorly taken stills from the game. If a team which is a game-winning field goal, I want to see the benches clear and celebrate with the kicker. It's a game-winning field goal or a game-winning interception. Even any interception, if you've ever seen an interception in the NFL, you know that after it, every defensive player is going to the end zone and taking a group photo in the end zone. It's been that way for a couple years now. Same goes if it's a big step on fourth down. It's important to see emotion from the players, because right now it feels like, oh, I got a game-winning field goal. I'm mad. I'm just going to throw down my play call sheet. That's it. And then you get stills. I don't like it. Right now, if you showed me the ending of a game without the scoreboard, I couldn't tell you if it was the margin of victory, what it was, or if it was a playoff game, or a meaningless Week 17 regular season, preseason-esque game. This is probably one of the most important things that does need to be addressed. Well, after that, I hope you enjoyed what I've had to tell you. If you enjoyed, leave a like. Make sure you subscribe for more content. I'm going to be uploading more videos soon. As you told you last week, schedules Monday and Friday's Bengals. Wednesdays is this wishlist content. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you back next week for some more content.